Good day, audience, and this is day 18 of the show Too Long Didn't Scroll, available on YouTube or podcast apps like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. This show is for those who may not want to get their daily news fix through endlessly scrolling through the newsfeed every day, and would instead prefer a quick, listenable, around 5-minute summary of news events of any day from January 20th, 2023 and onwards. Links to show resources are in the description. We now get into day 18, February 6, 2023, in the countries of Turkey and Syria. As of today, at around 4:17 a.m. local time, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, a series of two major earthquakes struck the regions of southern and central Turkey, as well as parts of neighboring Syria. A tremor with a magnitude of 7.8 and a Mercalli intensity of 9 struck the two countries 34 kilometers outside the southeastern Turkey city of Gaziantep. Seismologists have stated that this was one of the largest ever earthquakes to ever hit Turkish soil since the 1999 Izmit earthquake, surpassed only by an earthquake all the way back in the 17th century. Reports have stated that the Gaziantep earthquake took around 2 minutes to cease shaking, though after it ended, it was followed by several brutal aftershocks, one of which had a magnitude of 6.7 on the Richter scale. Another earthquake and series of aftershocks was later felt at around 1:24 p.m. local time outside the city of Ekinozu in the Kahramanmaraş province in south-central Turkey, which also had a magnitude of 7.5. Both these series of tremors have flattened thousands of buildings, including those that are 12-story tall, several historic mosques, two hospitals, several malls, and as well as an airport terminal and surrounding infrastructure. It has also caused the deaths of around 4,300 people, according to current reports, in addition to around 18,000 injuries, and the World Health Organization warns that both these numbers could continue to rise as search and rescue efforts continue across the two countries. These operations will prove quite difficult, particularly in the Turkey's and war-torn Syria's snowy mountains, on the conflict between Israel and Palestine, as the city of Jenin still reels from the bloody Israeli military operation into a Palestinian refugee camp. Another raid by the Israeli Defense Forces has occurred near the city of Jericho and Palestinian-controlled territory. Armed members of Hamas, a Palestinian nationalist organization, whom Israel supposedly identified as perpetrators behind the previous gun attack on the Jewish settlement, were suspected to be in the refugee camp, leading them to initiate a military raid on the camp, another in a series of raids and attacks on Palestinian facilities trying to root out militants and Hamas members. This most recent raid also triggered a brutal gunfight, killing 5 members of Hamas, in addition to 3 members being injured and 8 being arrested. Israeli officials have declared the operation to have successfully, quote-unquote, neutralized the terrorists, as attacks between Israel and Palestine have occurred and likely will continue to happen. We now shift our focus to the border of Somalia with the breakaway state of Somaliland, which has operated in its current iteration as a separate entity from Somalia since 1991 after the Somaliland War of Independence, after Somaliland residents and soldiers boycotted the Somali constitution in favor of revolting and creating their own breakaway state. As of today, Somaliland operates in many of the characteristics of a recognized independent nation, including through issuing passports and currency, though they still have very limited recognition on the international stage from other countries, meaning they are yet to be considered an actual independent countries. Clashes between Somali and Somaliland forces have occurred periodically throughout the two states' existence, especially along the heavily disputed border in the northern Horn of Africa. As of today, another such clash has occurred between Somaliland officials and anti-government fighters in the city of Laskanood, in the border province of Sul, mainly consisting of those objecting to Somaliland's governance over the region in favor of returning control to Somalia. Such an attack comes a day after a committee of local leaders, religious scholars, and civil society groups publicly declared they did not recognize Somaliland's administration, advocating the full federalization of Somali territory. Current reports of the region state that 34 people were killed in the clashes, which included the shelling of a nearby hospital. We now head on over to the Special Autonomous Region of Hong Kong in China, whose residents have had a continued contentious relationship with the People's Republic ever since the city's handover to the country in 1999. Such sentiments reached a particularly heated tipping point starting in the year 2019 after the attempted passage of a new security and extradition law that threatened many Hong Kongers' freedoms, causing a long and wide-reaching protest lasting from March of 2019 to mid-2020, in addition to calls from across the region for democracy to be maintained. The Chinese government responded to such calls by cracking down, making thousands of arrests of residents and politicians alike, and as of today, one of the largest trials of these arrested individuals has been set to occur. These 47 individuals, pleading not guilty for quote-unquote conspiracy to commit subversion, in the wake of attempts to hold unofficial election primaries without the government's involvement. The trial of these accused, which include pro-democracy lawmakers and activists like Benny Tai, Claudia Mo, Joshua Wong, and Lester Shum, has been described as a trial of the entire pro-democracy movement itself. The accused have refused to plead guilty in the trial as pro-democracy protests, although scattered, continue across Hong Kong. In other news, the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church has announced that the church will begin using the revised Julian calendar, an alternative to both the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar, used by most of the world after a decision by the church's synod of bishops. A Boeing 737-700 firefighting tanker jet has crashed in the Fitzgerald River National Park in West Australia, though with no casualties. A series of mudslides in southern Peru killed around 36 people in the Kamana province, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif orders that the country's current ban on the website Wikipedia will be lifted after it was blocked 3 days earlier on claims of it harboring anti-Muslim content and blasphemy.